So if you watched my reviews of Season 2 of What If, you would know that I was slightly disappointed. And when I checked IMDb, the ratings sort of matched that. They weren't super low, but they were definitely not that high, especially when you compare the first season. So then I looked at Season 3 and I said, surely it has to get better in Season 3. And Shirley said, why are you asking me? You're the one that has IMDb open. No, but in all seriousness, the reviews for Season 3 are even worse, so I'm going to kind of rush through this, do 2 reviews, and yeah, these are going to be quick. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is What If Season 3, Episode 1, What If the Hulk Fought the Mech Avengers? So first of all, already off the bat, misleading title, because the Hulk doesn't actually fight the Mech Avengers. There's a Gamma Beast, which is born of the Hulk, that fights them, but is not the Hulk. So you can't say the Hulk fights the Mech Avengers in the title if that's not actually what happens. And the thing is, you could have that be a thing. You could have it where the Mech Avengers get controlled by Ultron or something like that. They're X-Men now in the MCU, so have Magneto control him. Like, do something along those lines. It makes sense why the Hulk is fighting the Mech Avengers, but we don't get that. We get the Mech Avengers fighting these Gamma Beasts, fighting the Apex, and then they get a tech boost, which apparently Bruce had been working on for a while. Don't know when he had time to do that exactly, and somehow program it to make it work with the new Mech Avengers. Because he only did it for the Hulkbuster, I'm pretty sure, because that's when he left. So how does it also work with all of the new suits? Whatever, it's kind of stupid. It's just them fighting these Gamma Beasts. They can't do enough, and so then Bruce steps in, becomes Godzilla, beats the Apex, and becomes a new Apex, and then Sam, with the power of friendship, wins the day and convinces him to not turn on them. And what if the heroes were the friends we made along the way? That's basically how the episode ends. Not those exact words, but close enough to where I can make the joke and it makes sense within the confines of this episode. So animation was okay, voice acting was okay, nothing was really spectacular. But yeah, the story itself not only doesn't live up to the title, but just doesn't make a whole lot of sense and is very flat in comparison to the stories we got before. But that's kind of what I'm expecting from this season, so expect these sort of quicker reviews where I just talk about some of the worst things about it, and just know the season as a whole is most likely going to be crap. The reviews for this season don't go above a 6.7, and that's the next to last episode of the season, so I'm not expecting much of anything. But I'm watching this out of obligation, so here we are. So on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 2, What If Agatha Went to Hollywood? I'm gonna have to try really, really hard not to rant about this one because I could probably go on for several minutes, but I'm trying to keep these short. So first of all, biggest issue from the outset is the setting of this, because it sounds like an interesting idea. You got Agatha trying to absorb a Celestial, doing a movie to cover it, and then they get Kingo involved and it turns into a dance scene, which turns into a fight scene. That all sounds entertaining if it were live action, but because it's animated, it's not entertaining, because all these backup dancers that are all moving in sync, and Agatha and Kingo are moving in sync with them as well, and it turns into a dance, and how fluidly the dance moves turn into fight moves as well. All of that is really fun to watch real people do. But when it's animation, you just know most of the dance is just have the animated characters doing the dance moves that real people do. And the reason why it's not entertaining, especially in a group number like this, is whenever they're all moving in sync, all they had to do was just take the animation, copy and paste, and then change the look of the person doing the dance. That's all they have to do for this. Whereas if it were a group of people who were really dancing like this and they were all in sync, that would be impressive to watch. And again, if Agatha and Kingo were actually fighting, like we're actually watching Catherine Hahn, and I don't remember the name of the guy that played Kingo, and I'm too lazy to look it up. If we're watching them dance and fight at the same time, that would be fun to watch, but we're not getting any of that. It's all animated. And then where the story goes, Agatha manages to absorb it. She becomes as powerful as Celestial. She manages to absorb Arishem, and all of it is very quickly rushed. But then, as Agatha is basically threatening to reshape the world in her image and all this stuff because she has the power now, Kingo convinces her because of the power of movies. And this is probably about the 5th or 6th time in the past 5 years that I've seen Disney trying to jerk itself off for how important it is when it makes these movies. Because when Kingo was talking about the acting being the most noble profession and all of that, I saw all of that as like, that's a joke, because actors think they're more important than they really are. But then they get to this scene at the end, whenever he's giving her the speech about the magic of movies and how powerful it is, And all I'm thinking is, oh, no, that wasn't a joke. That was actually lines written by the writing team to go, guys, actors are important. Movies are really important, guys. This is some of the most important stuff you'll ever see. So make sure you're watching our stuff because it is super important. Again, I could rant for probably several minutes about how self-gratifying, how egotistical all of this writing is, but I'm not going to do all that because, again, I'm trying to keep these short. One final thing, something that was unintentionally funny because I don't think they intended this as a joke, but when Arishem is heading toward Earth, he's making noises while doing it. And something is really funny to me about watching him glide kind of angrily, like arms out through the air, and he's sitting there. All I can think is just it's just so bad. It was kind of hilarious. Yeah, so absolutely a terrible episode. Would have been better in live action. The messaging at the end was over the top and egotistical, and it leaves off on a cliffhanger that we probably won't see the conclusion to. Pretty sure based on IMDb ratings, it doesn't get any worse than this, so I guess that's a good thing, but it's still really, really bad. But we move on, so I'll see you guys in the next one in just a sec. And now episode 3, what if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier? So this is a fun idea. Unfortunately, I don't think it's very well realized here. From what I understand, the Red Guardian and Winter Soldier are a really good comedic duo in Thunderbolts, so I'm excited to see them there. But here, it just kind of feels like we're getting the bare bones of what that could possibly mean. And a lot of this just feels nonsensical at the end. It was making sense up to the point where they get cornered in the one hotel and all the Russians are closing in on them. But basically, starting from that point to the end, so much happened. I'm just like, what? First of all, Bucky hears all of the words that's supposed to start his brainwashing, but he just doesn't get brainwashed somehow because of the power of friendship. Yeah, I know the power of friendship is strong and all, but I don't think it can overwrite brainwashing codes. Then apparently Bucky just goes back to Russia and tells them that the Red Guardian died. How? All of those Russian soldiers were there. They would know what happened. And why did Bucky go back to begin with? How does that make any sense? But then after all of that is said and done, Lawrence Fishburne's character just shows up at his school and decides to recruit Red Guardian into the Avengers. And he's okay with that. None of this makes any sense at the end. It was all just very sloppily put together. And also, I don't know who the Ranger is supposed to be, but a lot of her dialogue was really cringy. Just felt like they needed another character for Lawrence Fishburne's character to play off of, so they threw her in for some reason. And there just wasn't much interesting about her, unfortunately. But finally, we move on to episode 4. I'll see you guys there. And now episode 4, what if Howard the Duck got hitched? Running out of ideas, huh? You know, if there was ever an episode of any TV show that should get the "it sucked, we're moving on by" treatment, it should be this one. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the two things that have nothing to do with the story, because the story is Howard and Darcy have a baby, and then all the stupid things that go along with it, all these powerful people trying to get the egg. That's it. I think it goes without saying why this episode sucks. But the two things outside of that I did want to harp on are the two jokes that just do not work. First of all, they're singing "I Was Made for Loving You." It's late at night. Apparently their upstairs neighbor, like, "Hey, 1980s called. They want their song back." That's dumb. You know why that's dumb, right? You do that as an insult to somebody whenever their style is from a previous era. When somebody is singing a song from a long time ago, which ends up being 79, as Howard points out, but you don't say that about a song somebody's singing. That doesn't make any sense, because that's not an insult, because that is when the song came out. And songs don't go out of style. Clothes, bags, cars, all of that stuff goes out of style. The style changes. And yes, song styles change too, but people will still be listening to 80s music and 90s music and 2000s music probably forever. So that insult doesn't make any sense there, especially because it's most of the time bullies that do that, not an angry person who's yelling at somebody for being too loud in the middle of the night. The second thing that didn't make any sense is they did the whole "who's on first" bit with Nowhere. And not only do we already know what he's talking about right off the bat, because we already know Nowhere's a place, we know that's where the collector is. So we as the audience already know what he's talking about. It's one of the funny bits about "who's on first" is you don't really know what he means at first, and then you start to pick up on the joke that who is the guy on first. but also it's got to be a lot quicker. One of the things that makes that bit so funny is how quick they rattle off of each other, and this one was not done that quickly. He's in nowhere. What do you mean he's nowhere? We gotta No, I'm saying he's at nowhere. Oh, he's got to be somewhere. It's got to be quicker. So yeah, those two jokes didn't work. The rest of the episode, I'm just not even going to talk about. Just not getting the dignity of my review, because that is probably one of the worst things Marvel's ever put out. Already Nope, I'm not. We're moving on. So yeah, first half of the season, pretty bad. Pretty bad. And I'm not looking forward to the rest of the season, but that's why I'm doing these reviews so quick and only doing 2 for this whole season, because I don't want to stick around too long. I just kind of want to be done. So with all that being said, those are my thoughts on these first 4 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 4? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future What If reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on here, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.